There are times when complex fragrances can be a little bit overwhelming, especially for beginners or people who are just getting into fragrances. They don't want something that takes them on all of these twists and turns. They want something that errs on the side of simplicity. So what we have in today's list is 10 fragrances that are simple yet effective. I'm going to be letting you know why I enjoy these 10 fragrances so much, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin this list of 10 simple yet effective fragrances and let you know what I personally think about them, I do want to start things off by mentioning that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, please do consider supporting the channel by subscribing to it. Make sure to enable all notifications by clicking on the bell and give the video a thumbs up if you take something of value from today's episode. I also want to mention that if you're interested in purchasing any of these fragrances, you may do so at Olfactory Factory. Really good customer service, fast shipping, very friendly folks working over there, and I've been using them for quite some time now, and they have excellent discounted prices on both designer and niche fragrances. So these are 10 simple yet effective fragrances, and what is more simple than Molecule 01 by Eccentric Molecules? So this fragrance has one ingredient, which is Isoe Super, and the perfumer Gezeshon. Very simple fragrance, kind of on the artistic side of things. Isoe Super is said to have a pheromone-like effect. What that means is that sometimes it can smell a little bit like musk, like cedarwood, like vetiver. I think this is a great fragrance to layer with, and for whatever reason, whenever I wear this in addition to my actual scent of the day, I always seem to get compliments. So this definitely has a high compliment factor, but it also helps promote longevity. So if you spray this on, and then on top of that, you spray your top coat, if you will, I feel like that adds an extra 2 to 3 hours of longevity. Molecule 01 by Eccentric Molecules is a special fragrance. And of course, if you want something with just a little bit more personality, I would go with M+ Mandarin. So this is basically the same thing, except you have this really natural smelling mandarin note in the opening. Very well done. Personally, I'm a huge fan of both the original and M+ Mandarin. Now this one is a rather simple fragrance as well because this just contains musk. This is Magnetic Blend number 7 by Inicio Parfum Privé. Now the same thing that I just said for these two also applies to this one. This is a great fragrance to layer with other fragrances if you want to add this clean, musky component that creates a very interesting personality to an existing fragrance, but it also aids with the longevity as well. Of course, when I think of simple yet effective, and whenever I think of simplicity, strictly speaking, I think of very fun, bright, upbeat, citrusy fragrances, and Celebration by Royal Crown always does that for me. Now, this is an effective fragrance because this has a very natural smelling citrus cocktail in the opening with a touch of flavorful mint. So the citrus is very bright and inviting, but the mint combination makes it smell like a mojito at times. So I personally love this one so much. Very effective in terms of making you smell very classy, rich, opulent, without smelling too complex. They do have another fragrance which is called Sultan, which is a little bit more on the complex side of things, but this one and Alquimia are two very simple yet effective fragrances. And one thing that you'll notice with most of the fragrances in this list is that the longevity is superb. That remains true for the next one, which is Holidays by Mancera. Any Mancera or Montal fragrance is expected to last either 10+ hours or 12+ hours. There's no exception with this one. Holidays is a very sort of exotic coconut and ylang-ylang kind of a fragrance. So it's a fruity floral, never gets too complex, but definitely giving you that tropical vibe that I think works so well in the summertime, especially when you're going on vacation. At times it can smell a little bit like sunblock or suntan lotion, but I personally love the smell. One of my wife's favorite fragrances for her to wear. And speaking of one of my wife's favorites, we also have a Creed fragrance, Aqua Fiorentina. There's so many simple yet effective fragrances from Creed, whether we're talking about Original Vetiver, Royal Mayfair, Green Irish Tweed. The only one that's kind of complex is either Bois de Portugal or Royal Oud, but I don't think Creed fragrances are necessarily too complex. This one is kind of like the niche version of Light Blue for Her by Dolce & Gabbana, but it has this beautiful fruity opening with some very natural smelling florals. Creed always does a really good job when it comes to making their fragrances smell natural and just so organic, and this one is no exception. My wife wore this on our wedding day, and whenever I smell it, it reminds me of that special day. The next fragrance I want to talk about is an incense dominant fragrance, and while this brand has a lot of complex fragrances, this is one of the most simple ones. I get a lot of olibanum from it, which is frankincense, and this one by Electimus London is called Puritas. So this one has kind of like that lemony pine aroma, very meditative, very zen, right? It does remind you, I guess, at times of being in a Roman Catholic church, but this one is absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't tried Puritas and you're a fan of incense and you like fragrances like Avignon by Comme des Garçons, you have to try this one. Also effective because everything from the House of Electimus has incredible longevity. That's true for this fragrance, for this fragrance, definitely for Royal Crown fragrances as well, and that also remains true for the next fragrance. For those of you who don't know, for this next fragrance, the perfumer is Alessandro Gottieri. He's also responsible for the house of Nasomatto, which is an indie brand, but everything from Nasomatto lasts such a long time, whether we're talking about Black Afgano, Duro, Blamage, so on and so forth. This one is simple yet effective. This one is called Bergamasque by Orto Parisi. So this one is musky and citrusy. That's pretty much what you're gonna get from it. It's not too complex, but the citrus is loud and clear, very flavorful, quite boisterous at times as well. And the musk is rather clean as well, maybe like a touch of an animalic vibe, which I know is found in many of his fragrances, including Seminalis, among others. But this one is amazing, and you can tell by the color of the juice, this one is definitely on the bolder and stronger side of things. This one again is Bergamasque by Orto Parisi. Very simple yet powerful and effective fragrance. The next fragrance I want to talk about has a rather simple note breakdown, but this is a beautiful fragrance. When I think of beautiful, this is one of the first fragrances that comes to mind. It's so gentle and mellow and just very warm, romantically beautiful. This one by Xerjoff is called Apollonia. So you're gonna have orris butter, white flowers, and musk. That's it. Very simple fragrance, but it's so long lasting, which is the case with most Xerjoff fragrances. I'm not going to say all, but it is the case with most Xerjoff fragrances, including More Than Words, including Alexandria 3, which could have very easily been in the complex list. But this one is a beautiful, clean, floral fragrance, and I'm a huge fan of it. It's so gentle and tranquil, and definitely one that you have to try if you are a fan of iris. And with that, we're getting into the number one spot, and the simplicity of this one I think is conveyed by the color of the bottle, which in this case is white. And this one is a spicy, musky orange blossom fragrance. So again, it has that citrusy element, which I associate with simplicity, and it has the musk, which I also associate with simplicity, but it has a little bit of an edge on account of the spices that are in here. I think it's black pepper, and it has a very abstract vibe to it. And this one is kind of an underrated fragrance from this brand, but it's one that I personally love. And as the weather starts to get a little bit warmer, this becomes such a Swiss Army knife for me. This one by Parfums de Marly is called Galloway. Galloway is definitely one of the simplest fragrances from Parfums de Marly, kind of like Sedley, although Sedley is even more complex than this one. But this one, you're gonna get mostly orange blossom, a little bit of citrus, musk. It's so clean, it's abstract. If you're familiar with Lalique White or Silver Mountain Water by Creed, and you know of the abstract nature of those fragrances, even though Silver Mountain Water has a lot of violet, and if I'm not mistaken, but this one is very clean, citrusy, bright, effervescent, and Marly fragrances last a very long time. They always have this sort of, Eastern-inspired performance, and more recently, some Western-inspired aesthetics in terms of the fragrances, but there's no denying the fact that Marly fragrances last a very long time, whether you're talking about a Castor, Herod, Carlisle, Callan, even Greenlee. they last a very long time. So here you have it, ladies and gents, 10 simple yet powerful and effective fragrances in my collection. I hope you enjoyed this video. All of these fragrances are going to give you very, very good longevity, probably with the exception of Molecule 01, but it's effective in the sense that it gets you a lot of compliments. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a comment down below. Let me know what is your simple yet effective fragrance in your collection. Feel free to list more than one. I always love reading your comments. Be sure to support the channel by subscribing to it. It's free and it would mean so much to me. Hit the bell icon and give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video or if you learned something or took something of value from today's episode. And please remember that if you're interested in purchasing any of these fragrances for a discounted price, you may do so at Olfactory Factory. Links are going to be down below. They're not affiliate links. I don't make any kickback from them, but I am putting them there for your convenience. Thank you for watching. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.